So Misbah and Wajeeh, you can introduce yourself for this session and you can take it from here.
Sure. Thank you, Adnan. So, hi everyone, and my name is Misbah, and so today we are going to be sort of talking about Power BI and a case study on Power BI that was used earlier by Vaji, to in order to develop some concepts. But before that, in order to dive into that case study, we would want to look at some of the extra details. Um, so about myself, a little bit about myself. I'm actually a senior analyst working in analytics within different domain, for such as healthcare, telco, energy, etc. So to just before we dive into the detailed analysis, let's look at the conceptual details about on developing analysis and insights for in Power BI, right? So in order to do that, there's a specific process you have to go through. So it starts with in looking into the raw data and sort of developing some sort of nuances and understanding the data, exploring the data in order to sort of get more details and see what sort of insights we can develop and analyze and visualize the data and then dashboarding and then communicate those insights, right? How does that happen? We have to be really careful about missing out on any important key information or not, and also looking at any anomalies that are there within the data in order to sort of do some sense checks and see the data sources are aligned. The next step is having the right questions in place in order to develop those insights. So whenever a visualization is developed, it is firstly developed for exploratory reasons, right? You want to explore what's the population size of the data, or how many users that are using a specific application. You would want to look at that and then get into the details. So also look at any users that are duplicate or not, or is there any issues with the data or not, is the region wise information accurately given. Once that is done, then you have to uh, and further drill down into the data, right? So then the drilling down of all the specific details is basically just getting into developing hierarchies, also developing any specific segmentation of analysis in order to get more specific substance within the analysis. So once that is done within the analysis, you need to just compile them in a dashboard. So once that is done, there's a dashboard that we could sort of present it to the top management in order to share more details about how these analyses are communicating with each other, and how we can further develop on trends. The communication part is comes last, but it's one of the important steps where we need to let them know what are some of the key insights and how they can take specific steps when it comes to making decisions, business decisions particularly, right? So that's one of the overviews of how we can approach data in Power BI and develop insights, and then move into dashboarding and communicating it to the teams, right? Um, One particular example that we are going to discuss here is churn rate analysis. Baji is going to talk into it in more detail, but it's basically customers churn, right? There's a concept called customers churn. What exactly is customer churn? Whenever obviously there's a customer that sort of takes a service, for example, in telecom, when they get a data package or a phone package, at some point, due to services or competition, service not being up to the par or competition, there is a likelihood that customer would exit the provider, and that raises a lot of concern in the business, right? So once that happens, it's important to calculate the churn rate. What's happening on an ongoing basis. Why are customers leaving, and what are some of the what are some of the churn rates at a high risk, right? For example, certain products would have a high churn rate, high risk churn rate, whereas the other sort of products would have a low churn rate. So it's better to get a sense check of all those things. Um, so moving on, what would be what would be important is to understand how you calculate it, right? So there's always a conceptual understanding, but then there's also a numerical or a financial reasoning to that. So right, so that happens with looking into how many customers are being lost and versus the total customers. So in e-commerce, the way it's being measured is it's basically looked into by with several different factors. It's looked into the number of purchases over 6 months period, 12 months periods, and so on. So that really helps them to understand if their customers are valuable enough or not, or are they exiting the e-commerce platform due to a specific reason. So this is an example, not really the example that Wajih is going to share, but a general example. Whenever we are faced with a problem with a churn analysis or some sort of churn data, we need to understand what the metadata says, right? What the fields describe us, right? And then we need to understand how much depth is there when it comes to churn data. So here you can see there are different segments of data, so different fields which could tell us more information. For example, from a customer point of view, we can understand what are the churn labels that we could use, what are the churn reasoning, what are the churn categories, what is the purpose of churning, demographic data, which segment of the population is churning the most. So it will help us understand and also target what are the demographics that are churning the most from the services of this telecom provider. Also understand their more details, such as payment methods and how they're paying. Are they facing any issues due to payments, or are they actually facing issues on the actual service, right? In addition to that, specific knowledge about how many calls are being made, how many extra, like what are the consumption on data or unlimited plans, or etc., right? So this is just like an example to understand what could be some of the factors of churning, right? So yeah, so this is something that I would that I would say I would highly recommend that it's important to look into metadata when looking into any specific churn analysis. So in order to assess this further or understand this better in more detail in a case study, I would now hand over to Wajih. So Wajih, I think you can share your screen and then you can start sharing your explanations.
Yeah,
So are you able to share your screen, Wajih?
yeah, I will. Are you can you are you able to see my screen?
You should. Okay.
Can you see my screen?
I think yes. Yeah. I think it's live.
Okay, so let me start. Hello, my name is Muhammad Wajeeh Arif. I'm so privileged and happy to present my project in front of you. So Let me introduce myself first. I am recently graduate of petroleum engineering from NIT University. So where I got a strong foundation in problem solving and analytic skills. But my career path has taken me in a different direction. So after exploring my interest in data analytics, I have diversified my career into this field and have been loving it ever since ever. So now we discuss what is telecom churn. What is churn basically? So now we talk about customer churn. So customer churn refers to the natural business cycle of losing and acquiring customers. So every company, no matter the quality of which its what its products or customer services are they offering, they experience always churn. So generally speaking, the less churn you have, the more customer you lose, the most customer you keep. So let's discuss about what is churn rate. So churn rate, sometimes known as attrition rate, is the rate at which customers stop doing business with a company over a given period of time. So churn may also apply to the number of subscribers who cancel or don't review a subscription basically. So as I told before, the higher churn rate, the more customer stops and buying from your business, stop buying from your business, and vice versa. As the lower your churn rate, the more customer you retain. So typically, this business is getting this way, this work way, and so Mm, one thing is that why is churn so important in our businesses? So the answer is that understanding your customer churn is essential to evaluating the effectiveness of your marketing efforts, um, and the overall satisfaction uh, become easier, or we say that become cheaper to keep customer you already have versus and acquiring new ones. So when we have new customers, so that we also say that we have new customer, we have older customers, and in future we will have new customer as well too. So due to the popularity or effectiveness of any business product, the business subscription or business model, so it's critical for many business to understand where and why and how their customer may be churning. So first we look up into that, how we calculate the customer churn, what is the formula. So I will shortly tell you that customer churn is calculated by mathematical formula. So we calculate first customer beginning of month, uh, and the customers at the end of the month, and it's divided by customers beginning of the month. So it's if we take an example, so if we have start a business and we reach any quarter with 400 customers and end up with 380 customers, so your churn rate is almost 50%, because you start with 400 customers and end up with 380 customers. So 400 minus 300 and divided by 400, so we will get 5% of our customer churn rate. So let's talk about our data set. So in our data set, which would be telecom, so churn data for frictional telecommunication company. that provide the phone and internet services to the 700 almost 7,000 customers in California state. And in this data we have look into that about customer demographics, location, services, and current status. So in our data set we have some limitations. So what we have limitations, first we have no time series, we will have no time series data, so we don't actually we don't deeply get deep into that in time series way, or we can also say that monthly or date based data. So let me first show you. Can you see my screen, Power BI screen?
No, not yet. Can you share your screen, and then I can help you put it on the actual presentation. Yeah. Can you share your?
I think I first stopped the.
You need to stop sharing and then reshare the Power BI
Yeah,
screen. Yeah.
now it's sharing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So we start with the data. So we look into that. First we have customer ID. So customer ID, a unique ID that is basically identity of each customer. So in our second feature or second column we have genders. So we have male and females, and in other column we have age. So we have age, customers of age at the end of different quarters. Basically we have a data set of at the end of quarter 2 2022. So we actually later we calculate the age brackets, which we'll talk later more about that. And we have married data sets and number of dependents. So number of dependents is basically indicates uh, that number of dependents that line with that live with customers. So it could be customers residence in California. So there is a city where almost 7 to 800 cities are there in California, and zip code. So there are latitude and longitude. So from with the help of this longitude and latitude, we can easily easily visualize the data on the map. And furthermore we have tenure in months. So it's basically very important feature in our data set. So what is tenure in month? Tenure in month is the basically is the total amount of months that customer has been with company by the end of the quarter, specifically as we see that. So we have multiple lines. So multiple line means we have phone services or not. So we have phone services and phone services means we have phone service as yes or no. So internet services and internet type. So in internet type we have almost 4 types of internet: cable, DSL, fiber. So there are some features which we say services basically. So there are average monthly GB download, online security, online backup, device plan. So these all are services which company they provide. And furthermore we have important contract and paperless billing services also. So that's all about the data. We further look into that when I visualize, when I talk about the data visualization. So here is the PRD diagram. So the relation shows that it's one to many relationship. So the
Can you zoom it? Can you zoom it? Or you
Yeah,
can zoom
sure.
also the dashboard.
Yeah, sure, sure. So, the basically cardinality or entity relationship is basically the uniqueness of column in a table, basically. So we further move into the dashboard or report. So in dashboard, I divide the total dashboard into two parts. So we talk about firstly total customers, and we later talk about churn customers. So as we saw that if I zoom in,
You can zoom in.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so customer, if we talk about customer churn rate, so we know that a big portion of our client did not abandon the services. Therefore, there is 26.4%, almost 1869 churn customers uh, are uh, leaving the was leaving the company, and almost 73.6% almost is the retention rate. So if we talk about gender bias, so equal numbers of male and female customers are moved towards attrition. So there are equal number of gender contributing towards churn. So if we talk about age, so if there are many ages, almost around four, starting with 4 to almost 70 plus ages. So what I did, I made the age brackets. So the let me let me so what I made the age bracket, if the age is
Can you
less than
zoom this?
40.
Can you zoom? Are you able to zoom this? Yeah. Yeah, I think that way everyone can understand, right? Yeah.
So
Can you scroll towards the right? I think there's an age bracket there.
I think what is if once
It's okay. Age bracket is already there, right? Maybe on the right side.
I think my screen got stuck.
No, it's okay. Yeah,
So
uh,
what I did, I first go transform data, and so I use here conditional formatting. So what I did, I build a logic where if age is less than 14, so we print children's, and if this logic is not true, so we move downward and query another logic, and if age is less than 24, then they show up youth, and if it's not, then shows adult. Otherwise, if all these uh, three are false, then we definitely
are you showing the transformation screen or
yes,
are you
transforming.
I
Yeah.
think that is not visible right now. Can you click on transformation screen or like you can go to the transformation options?
So okay.
Yeah, I can see your files now. Are you sharing that?
I don't know what is.
It's okay. You can share. You can go to your. You can share your Power BI.
Can you see?
No, stop. Share again. Can you go to your meeting and share again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's
Yeah.
visible.
Now it's visible. Yes.
So I tell again. So I made a age bracket. So if I made a logic where if age is less than 40, less than or equal to 14, so we print a children. Otherwise, if it falls, then it move downward and build and then query another logic. If age is less than and equal to 24, so so it's print youth and vice versa, and at the end we print the senior. So this is the basically the logic behind that. And if I stop the sharing the screen and move towards so that's all about now let's begin with customer churn customer status. So as I told, adults, seniors, and youth are the age brackets. So from the graph, we can surely depict that adults are the most customer most customer attritions towards of this company. So many adults are going towards attrition rate. So if we talk about age, as I said earlier, I told about age. Now I will tell about age. What is the effect of age on city? So many adults are attrition are going towards attrition. So Los Angeles and San Diego were the topmost two cities where attrition are almost up on the high rate. While if we talk about if we talk about cities on the basis of revenue and how many customers are there, so as Los Angeles are on the high attrition rate, but they are also generating much revenue. So there is proportionality relation between so company will always look into that this that if the churn rate is so high, so the revenue will also get modeled into that company. So there are most higher customers in Los Angeles and San Diego. Now, what are the factors? What are the key factors? What are the key what are the basically key drivers of customer churn? So, if as we saw, most of the almost most customers, around 3.9k customers, they they are not receive any offer and they are not happy with that offer. So with that, customers also use fiber optics much, but they also so they were also influenced by fiber optics. So so a key insight. What is a key insight? So from this charts. So 45% of churn customer left the company because of better value from the competition. Because one thing is here, almost 50% of the churn customers receive no offer from that company, and which cost around 2.1 million. So they lost 2.1 million of its company. So 3 million is loss in revenue due to the 70.3% of the churn customer usage of fiber optics. So they lost around 70.3% of their revenue, and the last 88 point around 88.5% of the churn customers are the subscriber of monthly package. So there is another feature where customers are interested in monthly packages. So as I told in key insights, that customers believe in another company. So there are many competitors around in this state. So there are many reason behind that. One of its competitor in churn category. So there are many competitors which are uh, winning their position in that state, and they are offering better services to the customers. So I visualize here with the help of longitude and latitude columns. So I plot a map here, and here I build top 7 to top 20 top 20 chunks customers, top 20 cities here. So where San Diego, Los Angeles were the topmost company. So we talk about mainly the cards. So there are 7,043 customers, and there are churn. So there are 3.68 churn revenue and almost % revenue loss. So I tell how I made this cards. So first, if we talk about revenue loss, so revenue loss is made up of two features. So churn revenue and total revenue measure. So churn revenue, so churn revenue is calculated by with the help of calculate function. So what calculate function calculate function do? So calculate function receive two arguments. So first one is table, and sorry, table not column, and later it will the second argument will be its filter. So basically if we want total revenue, so total revenue, I build up a total revenue measure. So what total revenue measure is sum of all revenue. So I calculate first total revenue measures. Total revenue measure. So total revenue is the sum of all total revenue, and then later and then sorry,
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think if it's uh,
one
you can
second.
probably check
Yeah, revenue loss.
next
So
set of things. Yeah, okay. Okay.
so revenue loss is basically calculated by churn revenue, which I told before. So calculate the churn revenue with the help of sum function and total revenue measure. So total revenue is sum of all revenue, and churn revenue is basically the churn revenue of all churn customers. So revenue of all churn customer is called churn revenue, and total revenue measure is basically the revenue of all 7,043 customers. So churn revenue is calculated with the help of calculate function. So total revenue measure, and second argument is customer status is equal to churn. So all churn customers will get into the first churn customer filter. So first customer status will filter with churn customer, and then we calculate the total revenue with the help of total revenue measure. And then and the last important is average customer tenure in month. So in average customer tenure month, so what I did, use I I use this filter, I use this field as a, I use first, I made a, now I will tell how I calculate this. So
Okay, you can just share a summary of that and then move into like the recommendations part.
yeah,
Okay.
so what I did, I add up on field and it calculates the average customer tenure in month. So it's calculated by this way. So and in the end, I suggest some recommendations for this company. So if I go back to my slides, so it's visible.
Yeah, it's can you go next? Yeah. Next
So
slide. Yeah.
recommendation. So the company, I recommend some of points for this company. The company need to improve its offers. As I told that most of customers are engaged on month-to-month services, so they deduct the another offers and focus on one offer and ensure that it addresses the need of customer. So there is a need to review the efficiency of fiber optics internet service, because it's the most customer generate or it build the most revenue from for the company. So the company should reevaluate its pricing system to ensure that it completely favorable with competitors. So pricing systems, I think it's not good, and at the end more advertisement and offers should be directed toward the adult category, because most of the adults are uh, living this for living the company and living their company services as they present the major age bracket of Gen customer. So thank you. It's all about from my side. If you have any question, please write on in the box, so I will answer that question.
Thank you so much, Wajeeh and Misbah, for the session.